Hi, welcome to the June 9th meeting of the Communications Advisory Committee. Um, Let's have a attendance. I'm Martha McEntee, the chair.
David Cobar.
Molly Cowan.
Bob Blackie, Media Communications Coordinator.
Okay, let's see. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from April 17th. I circulated them a little bit late, and I'm hoping everybody had a chance to take a look at them.
They look pretty good to me.
Any comments?
None.
Additions, deletions, edits? Okay, anyone move to approve them?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Next, Bob, do you have your media communications coordinator report?
I kind of just have some brief updates. Thinking back since the last time we met, which was back in April. In late April or the first week of May, we installed like a informational sign on String Bridge about the alewife migration, which was really well received, I think. I live over there, so every time I'm walking by, I was seeing people reading the sign and would stop and chat with them or something. It had, basic facts about the fish, some photos drawing people's attention to, hey, this, really unique things happening. And a link back to our website, where people could watch the underwater webcam that we were pretty much streaming for almost a month straight to the public access channel 6 and also on our video on demand site. People could watch it live. I'll say probably would look good for about a week, and then all that rain and debris and stuff going by, it was like pretty hard to see anything, and the fish were kind of off and on, but still really well received. And I think when we would do we'd push that to Facebook Live or Instagram or YouTube, and a lot of people who were maybe just interested in that, subscribed or liked or followed and things like that and engaged with the content. So it's little fun things like that we're bringing people into, then get exposed to the other type of content we do. Also on that landing page where the webcam was, we embedded it on the town website. I can actually pull it up if you're interested to see what it looks like. We had a lot of other, related links to, stuff from New Hampshire Sea Grant, state of our estuaries, a lot of things that maybe the town has partnered with these other organizations like PrEP and other ones in the past. So kind of just tried to do, broader outreach and highlight this thing because it is a draw to town. So I think that proved that, putting some physical stuff out there is a good way to intercept people, I guess, or interact with the public. So it got me thinking, how else could we do that with other either events in town or just topics that maybe people are interested that seemingly have nothing to do with town government, but can rope them in. Obviously the town had a big influence on the fish, I think, with the dam being removed. So, that's where it kind of ties into, this is a result of what the town's doing. But on the surface level, people walking by have no, they don't know the connection. So how can we make them aware of the connection and then make them a part of the process? So that was nice to see.
And then you link to the Great Dam Removal video, which
Yeah.
somehow during the whole Pickpocket Dam Removal conversation, I never saw that video.
Yeah, so that came out in 2017 or 18, so after the whole thing happened.
Okay.
I don't know if that would have been made during discussion, because it could be seen as influencing. It was more of a look back at, okay, this happened, what does it mean, and what did it look like, is kind of what that was. But
So are you going to document the removal of pickpocket?
yeah, I think we're gonna do basically a part 2 to that, but it would probably come out, as or right after or maybe even a year after the pickpocket came out.
But you have plans in place to collect that information.
Yeah, reach out to the different people so they can hopefully get us involved at each stage, because it's a long process. So.
And I live right there, so going over and taking pictures or putting my drone up and taking pictures I can do easily.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say for anyone watching, if we have any viewers, or people such as yourselves, community documentation of this stuff and any big town stuff is, I think, a nice addition. So, 'cause
The
it's
underwater
always,
cam was really cool, and I'm wondering if there are other places to put it.
yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. What makes this location unique is that it's right next to the library, so we're actually able to get power and internet. So basically, we need power and internet. Other places, I'd wanted to do it at the top of Pickpocket's fish ladder because there are fish that get up there.
So I know the woman who lives on the other side of the pickpocket.
Mm-hmm.
So we could, with Fish and Game or whoever's approval, probably run an extension cord from her house over there.
Yeah, it's definitely something maybe we could look into. The Conservation Commission funded that camera, they purchased it, and if they were either interested in purchasing another one or maybe during the season we could move it.
So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Because there are people that live right near the dam who probably would be supportive of that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's what we were even thinking of maybe moving it around downtown too, because there's better locations, but we would need like a public-private partnership in some way. Hey man, come on in.
Hi,
Hey, how are you?
I haven't seen you in like eons.
No, what's going on?
I'm glad you're.
Hello, lovely.
Hi, I'm Martha McEntee.
Amanda Kelly, nice to meet you.
Hi, Amanda. Nice to meet you too.
I
Sorry, I
forget
missed your
what
session.
item you were interested in talking
Which
about. But
Didn't you have the session on the,
The ADA?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's something I'm
Next year.
interested in.
So having a time
Or
lapse
not even
camera.
next year,
Do you have a
hopefully.
time lapse camera?
multiple times.
we have cameras that can do time lapse, but I think something like that project, I think
Okay.
I'd be interested in seeing if there's any way. Again, I think just power
So
and.
Karen's property,
all that
as I
stuff.
said, is just upstream.
Mhm,
But if you want a time lapse from just upstream, that would do it.
mhm.
And my property is just downstream, and you could put something up in one of the trees and
Yeah.
then run power out to it from there.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something to think about. I think if we were gonna do something, we'd probably do like the lower budget way, which is actually use kind of basically security cameras.
Yeah. And just take
'Cause-
frame grabs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, some of them actually have time lapse modes, like the ones the town have. We can do time lapses of the bandstand. That's how we got a time lapse of Planet Playground going up and down.
Okay,
They just kind of tilted the camera from the tennis courts to the playground. So hopefully the tennis players didn't mind stealing that for a week or two, but
yeah, so
yeah.
I
good
will,
to get it
I'm certainly on my side of the dam, happy to do it, and then we can talk to Karen, I think she'd be supportive.
Good idea. Another thing that people are really interested in is the birds. The osprey, the eagle.
Yeah, I mean, if we could get one on the top of the smokestack, that'd be amazing, but.
There are so many photographers capturing, and actually I was gonna bring up, the number of photographers who decided that Exeter is a great place to take pictures of wildlife is stunning.
Yeah, but I'm saying that would be something that we could use to get people to come out and about.
So can you work with the photographers to do
Right.
that? Because, yeah, again, encourage what they're doing, but also somehow connect them with more of the public to get more.
We do have a plan, and we kind of informally talk with some folks, because we want to go down there and do a story about how Exeter's become this like birding hotspot. So I'm trying to find like birders who ideally are like from Exeter would be the nice angle, but like any birders down there would be, even if they're from the greater area here. But yeah, that's definitely something. But you were kind of more alluding to like putting up some webcam or something, right? Or just,
We're just getting people to realize what
Yeah.
an incredible asset it is here.
yeah.
I mean, I was
we can-
recently out on one of these pelagic trips out of High Harbor, and I was talking to some people who are like hardcore Audubon birders, and they were all upset that the wastewater plant no longer allows them to go in and get full access. There was apparently some incident where it was deemed unsafe, and they can't go in and have full access anymore for birding, but they still love to come to Exeter for birding and how great it is. So I don't know what that is, but it's really a big draw for the town to get people to come in and go to restaurants, go shopping and all of that. Just gives the town a really good reputation for nature.
And the great dam removal contributed to all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many more osprey, and the river is full. I mean, I look out on the river, and there are usually maybe a dozen cormorants. This one day I counted 50 cormorants fishing for the alewife. The alewife are in danger.
Yep.
So,
Other quick things for my report. I mean, the newsletter seems to be going pretty good. I went in and did some investigation into like our audience on there and found that there were a lot of subscribers only tagged for like an old list that we no longer send to. So I re-enrolled them in our main list, which they would have been hopefully notified and then could opt out if they wanted to. But that increased that list by like 800 subscribers. So
I have the list for you. I asked for consent on that survey.
okay,
So I
great.
have like
Oh,
500 people for you.
Yeah, that would be
the
great.
Wow.
survey for the park?
Mhm.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Well, my
Yeah,
husband
that'd
does
be-
that for a living, so I was like, do you give consent to be in the newsletters? And here's your emails for Bob.
thank you.
Yeah, so I gotta send it to you. I forgot all about it.
Well done.
Yeah, so and like little things like that with the working with the committees to try to do that a bit more would be great.
I just want to put a pin in this and we can come back to it, but I'd love to know how well your survey was, how broadly it went out and what the demographics of the people that were responsive to it. Because in terms of communication, it felt like you did a really good job of getting out to a lot of people.
Thank you.
And part of what I would like to know for this committee is like, how do people in the community want to be communicated with? And you've got to start on doing that.
Well, that's why I'm here today,
Here we go. Nice.
Great minds sort of think alike.
actually.
Only other thing I have, which is some good news to share, we won a national award, the TV station. There's the Alliance for Community Media, which is like a national organization for all these TV stations. They have like a video awards you can enter, so we entered a couple things. Not really expecting much because it is a national competition, but we were pleased to announce that we won the overall excellence awards, which is like basically like the best station award for our budget category. So that means like for the whole country we're number one. So
Are you going to do a report on yourself?
Yeah, so we're
Isn't
gonna
that
do a
amazing?
little
Good
video.
job.
Yeah, well
So-
deserved.
Thank
And
you. So
not
we're
surprising.
gonna receive that award later this month at the ACM conference, which is actually in Boston.
Good.
It's it was in California last year, and they move it around. So
So I should I should go down and bring my camera so I can take pictures of you
yeah,
all.
if you want
That's a great idea,
to.
David.
But yeah, so we're really excited about that, and we're gonna try to leverage that as a newsworthy topic to try to reach out to the newspapers and WMUR and other places to hopefully get more awareness about what the town's doing with communications and stuff.
That is so exciting.
Well done.
Congratulations
Thank
to
you.
all three of you.
And that's all I have for my report.
That is just great. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to, I have it listed as number 3, communications plan, but really it's just an ongoing discussion for our, I guess what we'll call our brainstorming session on how to improve communications in town generally. Okay, so last time, we had a long discussion to pick up on the idea of sort of broadening our approach to communications by having narratives that pick up on how the town makes decisions at the select board level, at the town manager level, and at the staff level. The idea being that we want residents to understand how decisions are made well ahead of when they vote on particular matters, and that they understand the fact that there are other factors at the national level, at the state level, and basic economics that affect how things get done and how things sometimes don't get done, and how expectations change over time from the time they vote on something and authorize it to get done and the time it gets implemented. So one of the things that we talked about was how certain projects might be affected by developments that have happened after votes. And the key project that Molly was focusing on was the safety station, which is a huge budget item that was approved by the voters that may well be affected by developments on the national stage and in the economic situation generally. So when we met last time, we alluded to the fact that the select board may have gotten a report about what projects might have been affected by changes that have occurred since the vote. I don't know if we have any further information on that or not, Molly, but did you want to pick up on that issue?
I actually I have missed the last two select board meetings because I have been out of town for work.
Mhm.
But I do think that there is some, I'm hoping to get an update at our next meeting, which is next week. And I also don't know that there's maybe much information yet because I don't know that we have settled economic policy that addresses what might be coming. So TBD, but I do think it's important to keep it on the schedule, to keep thinking about it, and to sort of like take a look with you, Bob, at, you know, with department heads for what things would ping for. This is delayed, this is a big project, this is very public facing, so that we can get sort of a sense on what needs to be communicated about.
Do we have a sense at all, and this is something you had brought up, David, what people are talking about, what people are worried about in town? You keep your tabs on social media a lot more than any of the rest of us.
I do, but it goes back to what I was sort of talking to you about. It's like, I suspect that, I don't know what the demographic is who pays attention to Facebook, and I don't know how many people that reaches, and I don't know how other things reach out to the community, like how many people watch Exeter TV. So, and for these manufactured home communities, how many people in those communities are engaging via what mechanisms? And that gets to how do we reach out to all these different demographics and locations, and that's why I was very curious about the success of your survey. So I don't really, the tenor of the Facebook page has changed a little bit, I would say, over the last couple of months.
How so?
There is more divisive. The current political climate has made, and like we're on television. There are things I'll say not on television, and not that I don't want to be associated with them publicly. It's just it's personal opinion versus something that's applicable to this meeting. So I don't know how best to reach out to these various groups and various individuals, and that's part of the reason I joined this committee, was to see how we can learn how everybody in the community wants to be connected with. And I don't know, and I don't think anybody has a good answer for that. But you have a mailing list, and so you've got some idea of what that engagement looks like. You've done a survey, you've got some idea what that engagement looks like. I'm sure there are other things that the town has done which gives us some data points, like when we hold a meeting about a specific topic, what does turnout for those things look like? I know that when I asked this of the select board a while ago, somebody said that they go out twice a year out to Riverwoods. So how many people attend when they do that? My question of Riverwoods and other similar sorts of communities is that it's great that you go out, but are there mechanisms at these facilities, like internal newsletters or the various televisions that are up around the space, that Riverwood would be willing to give space to the town for communicating certain things? Because the population of Riverwood is like 650, 700, maybe more.
It's huge. It's more than that.
A lot of people. Yeah, sorry, 650 at the start. I don't know what it is now. So there's a lot of people in that community. And so that's one community. Manufactured homes are another sort of demographic community. Ray Farms is another community. So there's all these sort of well-established communities, but then there's other smaller communities in the town. And I don't know how to reach them, or whether they're being reached, or what they want to hear about.
I think those are all super important questions. And I think it's half of the puzzle, right? It's who are we reaching, and then how do we reach the others, and how do we just reach people in general? I don't know, based on the survey that I sent out, if you'll be able to get in demographic information. I just literally don't know how that works, but I'm happy to talk to you about it to see if there's anything you can do to look through what was said. We didn't ask any demographic questions on purpose, because it was already complicated, and at the end and then in the beginning, we were asking such basic questions that we just kind of wanted input quickly and unguided. So that was sort of a choice to not ask any questions, but I don't know if there's anything else you could look at from a computer science point of view.
How many people responded?
I don't know off the top of my head because we did a couple, but I can send that to you guys for sure. I want to say it was like maybe 1,000 total or something like that.
Okay.
So, but I'll find out. And we're going to be putting that in the slide deck for the select board presentation, so I should have it very soon. Anyway, like a nice presentation. So, yeah, your question about just for my own clarity is like, who are we currently reaching through these different mechanisms? I think that's a really interesting question. Like, who is going to Facebook? Who is watching TV? Who is reading the newsletter? Those big obvious places that we're communicating. I'm curious about that. That's a great question. And then, like, how do we reach the others? And like, what are the other angles to be going at? So I kind of came here this morning coming from having been on quite a few committees at this point and having had a few things over the years where it's like, we really want to reach out to the residents to kind of query and ask for input. And every time I felt like we were reinventing the wheel and we were starting from that room and going, what do we do? And then like kind of brainstorming on the table. There wasn't like a plan. So I kind of came here this morning to be like, hey, do you guys have even a started plan, or do you want to take my really sad little Google Sheets document and like start to create kind of like a checklist of like, here's all the contacts and places you can go in town. For instance, you're talking about Riverwoods. I know because I called them. And it seems like from my 3 minutes of talking to people that the residents have their own groups, like resident created and resident run groups, and then Riverwoods probably knows what those all are, and then can communicate to kind of like the chair or whatever of those groups, and then that group can decide if they want to post something to their group. So it's kind of like these committees. I'm not sure that Riverwoods wants to send something on a central mailing list or has a central mailing list. I have no idea. I think you said you live at the mill. Don't they have like they have a mailing list, but again, it's hard to kind of get on it. It's kind of complicated. Yeah. So I think there are ways, but I don't think they're very like smooth at a lot of these places. In the manufactured home communities, I don't know if there's like in the main office, if there's a board you can post
So a lot of those communities have a central place where all the mail gets dropped off.
Right.
So my mother-in-law used to live at Ray Farms, and in the entry hall, there's all the mailboxes.
And then they allow
They
posting.
may or may not allow.
Right, so
and
that's a great question to find out the answer to. So I have a very short, because I didn't really finish it, but I can get the rest of it out of my head.
In your copious
List of like, where did we go, what did we do, and just to kind of like check off as we were going. Even the grocery store, like you can put at Market Basket, they have a poster board thing, like just like to have something for the town, and then maybe not the whole thing is available to committees, but like to be able to say like, okay, sounds like you're doing some outreach on this, we already have it done, so that the committees don't feel like we have to like start from the beginning.
And then if those committees start engaging with this sort of fundamental foundation, and they say they do their outreach, and they say, oh, in the course of our outreach, we discovered these other ways.
Right.
And it's so there's somebody who's central, probably this committee, is responsible for managing that foundation that you've started. And then as other committees use it, they provide feedback,
Yes.
and we continue growing it.
Yes.
And also just on me, PEA is a community within this community. And both, there's a lot of staff, there's a lot of faculty there, there's a lot of students there. They generally, I think by design, are isolated. There's very few people from that community that I sort of see out in the larger world and talk to. There are some exceptions, Heidi, but getting a sense of, I'm sure PEA talks to the town at a formal level, but there's that sort of informal, because they're still part of the town, even if they're living in faculty housing on PEA property.
And they have many of their own like internal email lists.
Yep.
Cause like I subscribe to them, because most of their events are open to the public,
Yeah.
like plays and music and all that
And
stuff.
a lot of us use PEA trails, and one of the things I realized the other day is that they are allowed to have dogs off leash if they have a PEA permit. So I know that people were like, yes.
Never knew that.
And that's, people like, I saw somebody on Facebook like, why are there dogs off leash in this area? It's like, it dawned on me because it's a PEA. And so there's a lot of opportunities to get better at this, and we don't have to go solve the whole problem right off the bat. Starting with your foundation and having some sort of, every time this committee meets, we'll spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, incorporating feedback from other committees that have used that framework and continue managing the framework.
Yeah, and Amanda had shared that with me, the spreadsheet, and I looked at it. I think it's a really good idea. It also can, with good notes and stuff in there as we work on it, it's like, from a staff point of view, like when I have limited time, like where am I gonna go the farthest? Cause like my list with our property managers, I know what they would and what they wouldn't send out. So for basic stuff, I wouldn't even ask them, because unless it's like mission critical for their residents, like it doesn't pertain to them, and they wouldn't, that's not what, it's not a marketing email list that they do, but like the chamber is more than happy to share, general interest stuff, or, what other lists would, and kind of segmenting it that way too somehow would be good.
And so then it becomes an ongoing, instead of this big, huge project we have to go do, it becomes an ongoing, smaller project. It's a maintenance.
To that point, the one thing that I think is missing from a centralized point of view, it's something I want to put in my budget for next year, is some sort of link QR code tracker, because really, like, every place you go to that's different, like downtown businesses, you could do every single one as a different QR code, but that would be a bit much. Downtown businesses, one QR code. Supermarket QR code, different one, because that's a different area of town.
Oh, so you know who,
And then that feedback and analytics will then tell you where you're engaging with people.
How much are you talking about?
I know.
Yeah, so, because like you can also do it with links. I mean, I can see, we have it in Google Analytics, but don't use it a whole lot.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
It could even be like the, bit.ly URLs
Right,
is another one
yeah.
on the poster, but some way of knowing where they got to you from, and that needs to get built into every survey
Yes,
we send out. How
yes.
did you find out about the survey? Was it the email newsletter? Was it the town website? Was it social media?
And so standardizing surveys
Yeah.
is part of that, there's the feedback right now that goes into whatever this task that we have for ongoing development of this thing is.
Is that a big ticket item?
Probably not. My guess is it'd be like several $100s a year, if that.
So I apologize for the dramatic gesture.
Oh,
I have a huge issue with QR codes.
Mhm.
There's a fundamental cybersecurity problem with them.
Yeah.
And that is, it's very easy for me to go print up a QR code,
For sure.
stick it over yours, and now they're going to my malware delivery site.
Yeah.
So that's one. The other one is geolocation and engagement tracking gets into privacy issues.
And the town needs to, we don't have a privacy policy.
And
we
so
need
I
that
think
one.
before we start going in that direction, and this is probably a select board issue, is that we need to have a privacy policy.
The town of Merrimack has a really good one.
But that's a, I think, a town-wide thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, cause already, like, I have, like, the data that you're looking for, the demographics, like, we may have that
I
in
know.
some sense, so,
And
with social media, we definitely do. And so
tools I have
like-
access to, I can go figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, why don't we just ask people how they heard about us?
But I mean, what I'm getting at is like, since that data exists, because we use tools that have that data, like we need to have some sort
Yeah.
of policy.
Exactly.
And that's kind of something for the select board to take up. I think we have on our side like a way to tell a good narrative that we're using this data to help make sure you don't miss anything. And that's kind of the gist of it.
The issues I've always seen around this has been governments, state, federal, local, go off and do something and then they try to explain it later and they're on the defensive. And so by setting a policy and educating people and at the bottom of the survey saying, here's the Exeter privacy policy, and making sure that you communicate clearly and upfront, you don't have to do crisis communications later because you avoided the problem. So QR code, I'm not, you can do QR codes relatively well. You can make it a little bit larger so it's harder for people to cover them up. You can just wander around after you put them up and see whether somebody's defaced them. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not.
what I was checking mine like every day on
And
the way to work, and what I also did is I put stuff like, you know, a scan me kind of thing around it. So if
Right.
someone put anything up there, like it was kind of actually overlapping the QR code. I thought the QR code might not work, but basically like there's ways to do it with design to
So
make
it's-
it so it's hard to.
Either as part of, probably not as part of the privacy policy, but providing, here's how to use QR code guidance for the town. I'm all for doing it, and it sounds like you're already thinking about that well, so I will stop with the dramatic
We
gestures.
thought about it after you talked about it
I
at the
remember
budget committee.
you took it very seriously that time, and I figured you had it under control.
Now I'm afraid to use QR codes.
You should be. So-
Yeah, it should be thoughtful
Even
about
on
it.
even if they're electronic?
Then it comes back to it's just like clicking a link.
Yeah.
So if the QR code comes to you from somebody that you trust, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
David?
I mean, there's like a lot of things, and maybe we can do a
Infomercial,
video
yeah,
on
yeah.
how to double check QR codes around town.
But that, so.
Yeah.
Simple as running your finger over it. Oh, a paper is taped over this. I'm probably not gonna scan that.
And then let somebody know.
Take it there.
And there's that's a side issue.
So for me, I will get you guys the survey data results, whatever, so you can look at it, the original survey for both of them. Do you already have it?
I don't know, and the only comment I have, because listening to the meetings, you guys used a really unique, and I would say advanced for what the town does, like point system or something for scoring, where I wasn't clear.
Oh my God,
How many-
I'm not clear on that either. Don't worry. That wasn't.
But maybe someone explaining that to the committee would be a good idea, or just like some committee in general, because basically they didn't necessarily do like the numbers they were using weren't necessarily like the number of people who responded to the survey, but the number of
They were weighted in some formula.
Yeah, because there were 3 options, so they had to get weighted so that you could
Yeah,
really see, because you could rank option 1, 2, and 3. So each one got votes. So then they did some sort of. I did not.
There was math.
Who designed it?
I mean when
I designed the survey, but then creating the analysis was done by a statistician.
I never understood ranked choice voting until I watched that meeting, because but I've since forgotten how it was working. But basically they used
You
like
could have
that.
Deb come in and do a little spiel for
yeah.
you if you want.
So
Yes.
did they actually, was it ranked choice voting?
He spent a bunch of time explaining ranked choice voting, and then said we didn't do ranked choice voting, and then did something else, and I was just
some of the figures
glazed
were a
over.
lot higher than the amount of people maybe that actually like individual people.
Boy.
So there was a difference in that number versus, because there were like 2,000 responses.
Right.
But there
It's
were only
confusing.
there were only
500
1,000 people who
responses or something.
did the survey. It was like because there's that many possibilities.
Right.
Right.
So, but that's
It
where
didn't change it though. Like when you
Exactly.
looked at just the raw obvious, like
Yeah.
what's the gut reaction of which one got the most votes, that was still the one that got the most votes.
Mhm.
It was just that they went through a really complicated way of making sure that they weren't.
Yeah, and is that something that is applicable to other surveys,
So-
to make sure we get more of a public consensus on things
Yeah,
rather
it was-
than,
I was raised by statisticians, and if you apply statistics well, then it is far more defensible. It's like,
Mhm.
okay,
That's what he wanted.
and
Yeah.
not only is it clear on the gut instinct, but the rest of the analysis and the additional analysis supports that conclusion.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just get weird responses, and so, your gut instinct, it is not supported by the rest of the data. It's like, okay, we need to go back and do this survey again.
Right.
So if we can afford to do it, by all means, I do think that it's worth having the statistician record a video and making it available, because at some point, somebody would say,
What's
I
going
don't
on?
trust this.
Yeah.
It's like, and again, this is getting out in front of a problem before we have a problem.
Yeah, you could probably get them to do that. And just put it next to the results.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm gonna get you guys those surveys. I'll update that document that I know I already shared with you once and just reshare it just in case. What else do you want me to do on
Come
this?
to our meetings regularly and join the committee.
I'm on too many committees. But thank you. I can come as a public member.
I think
That's good
that's
enough.
sufficient, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good enough, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna stay for your potential budget items because I have a question on that.
Great. Well, moving on to potential budget items.
the only one that's like jumping out to me was that I think it's a relatively small thing of some sort of link tracking one, and usually it's not just like a QR code service if then we decide we didn't want to do QR codes for some reason, but I think like there's like Linktree, Bitly, there's a bunch of ones. We use several of them already, but like the free versions. But I think that's what's really missing, because we have like Google Analytics, we got MailChimp, we got all these other things, and I need something that is all encompassing, because I don't have the time to like look at a bunch of different analytics and then combine data myself. And that's kind of, to get at the question, that's the theme, is like, where are people getting our stuff? We can sort of see that individually when I'm like, okay, who's responding to the newsletter, who's doing this, but if I can, for surveys or links and things like that we put out into the community.
Okay, so you're gonna research what the options are.
Yeah, so, but I think that's gonna be something that, is,
So my big
Yeah,
question
not
is, what
super
about the website? That was the big item we were talking about last
yeah, the
time.
website is still TBD. I think we're supposed to get a new website this year.
And is that
and-
part of your budget, or is that
I think it's
account
actually in the
budget?
IT budget.
Okay,
So
so
it's
that's not
something
something you have to
I
worry
get
about.
to pick but don't have to pay for. Fortunately.
Well, as it, yes, okay.
But I don't have to. I can defend it, but it goes inside the IT budget. Maybe they'll move that into the media communications budget. It's all the general funds.
Oddly enough, we have a the budget committee starting up not that far away, unfortunately.
But I mean, the only thing I'll say on that is I think it is going to significantly increase our annual costs for a website, because there's just no.
There's no
There's no
option.
There's
competition.
there's nothing really out there unless we want to like really reduce the kind of website we offer.
No, no.
But I think we're going from like maybe $3,000 to $4,000 a year to something more like $4,000 to $8,000 a year, and we probably are leaning more towards the higher side on that. It also depends on what sort of ADA stuff we want to wrap into that, because those are annual costs. There's like tools you can do for that. The cheaper websites kind of just, they don't offer any services like that. They'll just help you add a plugin to your site that lets you know when the stuff's wrong. Some of the other sites, like the platform we're on, they actually have like a tool that I think corrects it automatically, and then stuff they can't correct.
Are you
They'll
using
tell you.
WordPress?
No, we have Civic Plus is the company.
Oh, okay.
So it uses a Drupal
Yeah.
website right now,
Okay.
but they are refusing to work with Drupal anymore, and so we have to get their proprietary thing going forward. Because everyone they moved to the new Drupal, it's been really bumpy, and like as a company, they have, when something breaks on Drupal, like they can't fix it. They have to go to this
The open source
open
community
source
to get it
community, and so
fixed. So they, and So are you proposing to stay with that company that has proprietary?
I think that they were the lowest budget option to maintain services. Without, because with this year's budget, we have no money for making a new website, which costs $15,000. So they're basically gonna do that for free, and then.
So let's
Yeah.
you and I, or in some other committee,
Mhm.
I'd love to know more about what underlying technology they're going to be using, because
Yeah, they have their own proprietary
that's
thing.
what I'm worried about, because
Yeah.
then you get vendor lock-in.
Yeah, and that's where basically the options were internally. We talked about, do we want to go for an open source company or internal? So the open source, you can move around companies, but then you still rely on a company that they don't control the support they offer you. Where
Right,
proprietary one, like if it
So
breaks,
my company, we're sitting on WordPress.
Yeah.
It's hosted on, I'd have to go back and figure out where it is, but it's professionally hosted.
Yeah.
And it's got Cloudflare in front of it and all that sort of stuff. And so the underlying WordPress is stable, and we're not updating it a lot.
Yeah.
And we're not automatically updating when things happen, because those anyhow, this is probably a conversation for a different committee or a different time. But
yeah,
I understand where you're coming from. There will almost certainly be an additional cost per year. Rolling ADA into it makes an enormous amount of sense. It goes back to the fundamental, how do we reach out to the entire community?
Right.
And there's the whole budget review process is about to kick off, so let's make sure everything's lined up. But that process should come back and work either with this committee or the IT committee to go figure out those details.
Yeah, the tricky thing is, we have to do it this year.
Right.
So, and our decision will lock us in probably for a few
A while.
Yeah, potentially. As much as 5 years. So
Okay.
it's kind of and it's really, they have 1,100 clients that are in the same exact position as us. Some of them are jumping ship. Many of them are just in our position where they don't have any money to do anything else, so they're we're sticking with it. It's really, I had a not good taste in my mouth from dealing with them, but
Sure, for the same reason that I'm flagging it. But you've already done the due diligence.
Yeah, so it's kind of it is what it is. But I think the new product would be really good. I mean, I think it's significantly better, because our company our website was built on a company that got bought out by this company, got bought out by someone else. So the downside is there's some functionality we'll lose, and others will gain. So it's kind of.
I will trust that you are making the best possible decision. We'll go look at it when we do the budget review. And
But yeah, that's something for if you're on the BRC this year. That's the background story there of why that is increasing.
Great, so that's the biggest thing I was concerned about. What about training for you guys? Are you all set with that?
We're still maintaining that. I mean, this year I'm almost done with I think I have one more class, and then I get my digital media certificate from UNH, which is great. Those have been going good. I think we're gonna hopefully keep those in, and so I can just still go to more classes. Went to their digital marketing conference at UNH as a class. It was an all-day thing with several lectures and everything, and it was very interesting and eye-opening. The stuff that's revolutionizing that. Obviously, the topic, just like everything else, is AI this, AI that, and all I can say is I feel bad for everyone's social media feeds pretty soon, because you're going to be bombarded with personalized AI ads.
So it'll be interesting to see. Yes, I have opinions on that, as you might imagine.
Yeah, because the one topic I was interested to see how maybe it could work into our workflow, but AI video, I'm not really interested in AI video generation, but more, can it help in if you have a database of video and you need to find a clip, it can maybe find it better than you if you don't have indexing, things like that.
You're pretty good at that, Bob. I text you, when was this?
Exactly. I usually know, but
does.
then my employees might not remember what I filmed in
It's
2016.
Are your
memory.
video? Do you have transcripts of every video?
No, but we have one big server where everything's just kind of sorted by date and sort of topic, but
It would be relatively straightforward to automatically generate transcripts of every video.
Yeah, that we,
And then use AI, what's called RAG, which is retrieval, to then
pull up topics and stuff.
And well, also just where did this phrase appear?
Yeah.
And pull it. So
the more useful thing for us would be like if we need a footage of a fish or something to be able to find that. But basically, the seminar was about the guy had the same background as me. Actually, he graduated from college in Bozeman with a science and natural history degree, but now he makes 100 to 200 fully AI generated window commercials for a window company because they just trained.
they changed the model
on previous commercials and just lots of footage, so they can just like use the AI to write the script, the shooting script, create everything, and then you hide the AI mistakes with motion graphics, and no one can tell the difference. So
a very busy friend of mine who runs multiple companies found a AI. One of his people is now producing really high quality videos for cyber gaming, and it's taking them about 4 hours where it used to take 4 weeks, and it's taking a couple $1,000s where it used to take $30,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's all the flashy stuff like I'm talking about, but the real savings is in staff time. If I think the town needs to kind of look at AI and see about how can they go about, is there tasks that can be assisted with, like minute taking, for example. Every service creates these automatically, but then there's the moral side of it and all that stuff. So not for me to decide any of that, but the other side of the seminar was all about leaning into storytelling, which is kind of what we're trying to already do here to create genuine connections with the community. So, but yeah, the education stuff will be continuing, and we'll be looking at on the TV side as well. What can we do for them?
Okay. And you've got all your equipment stuff under control. That's all.
Yeah, I think we'll be just continuing kind of the normal updating and everything. I think it's going to be a interesting budget year, so I don't think there's going to be any big asks from us.
What about the closed captioning?
That's something definitely we would want to look into. I'm curious if the ADA fund can all be used for that, because it is a significant cost. We are looking at, we're getting quotes right now, because not next year for us, but next budget cycle for the school, because they do the 26th to 27. We would be looking to do it in 27, get a new broadcast system, which is like 30 to 40 grand just for like the hardware. And then you add on like the service contracts and any additional like cloud stuff like closed captioning and all that stuff, which is not done by hardware on site. So hopefully we'll get those in, but it might be something that we don't have to pay for next year, but it could be the school's gonna pay like a third of it because we share equipment with them, and then we would pay for it in 2027 would be the hope, to kind of make next year not as big of a hit.
So you think in 2026 you'll have it?
That's the hope. I think if the ADA fund could be used, maybe we could do it like next year, or we could even do it now. I think it might make sense to wait. I need to double check, because I think our current system could work. It's just like you pay a license fee and it's on.
Do you know what that is?
And that was kind of the figures I had talked with you about.
I can't remember.
It's between like 4,000 and 6,000 or something. But we're already halfway through the year, so maybe cut that in half. Because it's based on hours of transcription, and we would probably, that was just on the government meeting side. I didn't look into it if we did it for like all the public access shows and everything. But theoretically that would be easier because we don't have a lot on there. There's only like a few new reoccurring shows on there. But yeah, so it's definitely
So
not
4,000
technically
to
possible.
6,000 a year to do it without this new broadcast system.
Yep, and then I think it'll probably be around the same with the new system, but then hopefully it could get discounted if it's like wrapped into like if we bought it for like 5 years or like a multi-year contract or something.
So if you bought it now, before, so you said 2027 is the new broadcast system potential year?
Yeah, which we might be switching vendors, that's like where I would.
But it's not
if we-
26, it's 27 or
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
I think so.
So if you bought it now, is there any downside to buying it now? It's not.
I don't think so,
like a
because
short-
the system we have now, it's just like you're buying amount of hours, so we could even buy a month's worth and see, like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Or is it like really bad?
Yeah.
So you're buying broadcast as a service?
No, so we have
Talk about
the,
closed captioning.
Oh.
closed caption. So it's like, AI transcription kind of stuff, and it would be done on live meetings. I don't.
In real time?
That's what I need to. That might be an additional fee, but I think it is potentially live, and then when it replays, it would have it on there.
And then what was the thing that Julia from the library had mentioned to me? We talked about it briefly, and I can't remember the name of it, where she had a way of doing it really cheap right now.
Oh, they use something, and that's for people like in events,
Yeah.
like in the room. It wouldn't be for people at home.
Okay.
But they use something that I think is built into their projector, and I'll have to look up the name of it. But basically, it's like captions showing up on the projector screen for everyone who's talking.
It's pretty cool.
Which, we run everything through Zoom, so Zoom has that built in already. So, and that's where, like, getting back to my comment about minutes and, saving money or something, like, Zoom makes minutes and transcribes everything, but then you'd have to have someone go back and edit it, but.
That's why I was wondering at the start of the meeting.
Yeah.
I know that the town has a transcription service which we can get access to, but there are ways of
Exactly.
automating that which might cost less.
Talk to Pam.
Or that may be a select board issue,
Right.
or maybe it's a budget committee
Yeah.
issue, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and just to sort of wrap up, and I apologize for leaving, I'm back,
No,
David Coer back. AI can be incredibly powerful, and
Right.
the town may want to have an AI policy as well. Because using AI to generate some things makes an enormous amount of sense, but using AI to generate other things is a very bad idea, and addressing that before somebody inadvertently uses AI for something that's critical and it goes bad.
Yeah.
So AI policy may be a select board related issue, along with the digital privacy stuff.
Okay.
So Bob, what's your next step on that
I'm thinking I'm meeting with we're meeting with the other provider, called Cablecast at sometime next week. But yeah, I mean, I can bring it up with, Melissa Roy and see what her appetite is for something like that as well.
For the budget for next year,
yeah.
or for bringing to the select board to ask if it is an ADA fund option?
That's something that I'll be bringing to her, and then, whatever she decides to do with that. Cause yeah, I wouldn't go right to the select board myself, but if you wanna take that up, you certainly can. But yeah, so, cause normally we would be bringing our budgets together to present to the town managers in, I think, July. And then, it kinda goes back and forth a few meetings, and then maybe the BRC will sort of see some rough thing at their first meeting, but I don't really know if they do, usually.
I've only done it once, they might not, because the subcommittee of the BRC needs to come talk to you, and then that subcommittee will generally.
Yeah, that happens even later, I think, in the
Yes,
fall,
exactly.
so. But we have our, like, everything presented for that, but I don't think they've been drafted yet, cause we have like a folder where we put all that in and not created yet.
And part of the reason I brought it up and you're bringing it up is that it feels like that whole process is months away, but there's a bunch
Right around the corner.
we're starting now.
That's why I was on this, cause you guys
That's
will be
why you put it on the
meeting
agenda.
after I have
Right.
that already in there, so that's where I was if there was other communications,
Right.
like topics.
So if you guys feel strongly about either of these, do you as a committee, if you wanna support Bob asking Melissa, you can write a letter in support of them to Melissa for that meeting?
So,
So that Bob's not just going there by himself saying, this is something that I'm interested in, it's actually coming from your committee.
so in terms of sort of committee opinion, we personally, we are, at the top of the meeting, we talked about trying to make sure that we're communicating with as many people throughout the community, demographically, geographically, socially, all that. And ADA, being able to reach out to people who may be challenged in terms of hearing or other forms of engagement is absolutely within that sort of articulated policy. And so I would be supportive of making sure that when Bob submits a proposal request through his hierarchy, that this committee provides support to it.
Absolutely, I think we
And
can
then that can
say
double up.
that a sense of the meeting that that's certainly true. I go on record with that. Molly, do you agree?
I agree.
I agree, so, yes.
And then we can formalize that once you get closer.
Sure.
You know, once you have, say, this is what we want and here's why we need it, then this committee can, if necessary, say, we formally support whatever that you write up.
Absolutely. Okay, we have only a few minutes left, so there are a couple of things I want to deal with housekeeping wise. Molly, the last meeting we talked about, you going to the select board to make David not an alternate member, but a regular member of the committee?
Yes, I will
you take
put
care of
that
that?
on my calendar so that I don't
You're still,
forget to do it.
you're still,
That's fine. I'm happy to do what she's doing, which is go back to being a public person.
I think they need you. They
can't
were
do
not
that
committed.
because we wouldn't
I know,
work
I
without you.
I know. Well, no, she and I'll swap places.
Aren't you delighted to be a member?
Just trying
Don't
to
you want to
keep
be
you-
regularized?
I'm happy to be able to contribute to the work of
I'm gonna
everybody
step out.
involved.
Great,
Thank you so
great.
much for having me.
Good seeing
Thanks,
you.
Amanda.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
You
no-
too, thank you.
And the second critical issue is coming up with a regular meeting time. Molly, you're the person who has the very busy schedule. Pick a regular meeting time,
I
please.
mean, Monday mornings are fine. The only problem is it needs to be, I need to have enough time. So we decided we were going to do it quarterly. That was my recollection.
Correct.
Okay. So,
And at the last meeting, you were the one who suggested it be a 2-hour meeting. I have it on tape.
I
I think having a 2-hour meeting and then just saying we're gonna get done early if we can.
is fine.
Because we talk very fast
That's right.
and very efficiently.
Okay, so June, July, August, September.
June to August would make it every 2 months. Oh, you're three, oh.
Quarterly.
September, yes.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Do we need to have a meeting before the budget review kicks off?
Well, you tell us.
I've
You're the
only done it
budget
once.
guy.
I've only done it once. I don't know.
I think that our work is informed by their work.
I would agree with you.
So I think that, I don't think a meeting before their meeting is necessary.
Okay, so how
Yeah,
does,
because you guys will probably meet after it's like presented to town staff, so then you guys could probably like request
Weigh
a
in.
copy or whatever and
so
weigh in. that
how's your first week or second week of September?
So Monday, the 8th is fine.
We have and then how about 3 months after that?
Well,
October, November,
we're
December.
doing regular meetings, so am I gonna be able to tell Pam that our regular meeting is 8:30 to 10 on Mondays?
Yes,
Okay,
the
Quarterly.
first, yeah, quarterly.
beginning on September 8th.
So, okay, so that would be December
Okay,
8th.
Right.
Wow, great.
okay. And then every 3 months. Great, okay. Is there any other business?
I do not believe so.
Anybody? Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.